What's up, you guys? Hope you're doing well. My name is Rob Allen. I'm a direct response copywriter who's generated over $100 million in sales. And in this video today, I want to share my 8 rules for doing cold email right. And really, these are things I've tried and tested through the years of sending thousands of cold emails on how to actually get a response. Because one of the things I found is that most people, when they go to send cold emails, they do it completely wrong. They end up seeming desperate, confused, and don't really make a strong offer that gets people to reply to their cold emails so that they get the clients, the sales, offers that they want to convert. And this is how you fix that, by following these 8 rules. And I just want to be upfront about this from the beginning. I love cold email because it has completely changed my life. I've used it to get 6-figure gigs, get featured in big name publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, and more, build business partnerships with some really cool people, make cool friends all over the internet, work with New York Times bestselling authors, and more. So I will defend cold email to the end of the earth. So when people say it doesn't work, they can't get replies to their cold emails, or nobody likes to get cold emails, I say, what are you talking about? This is not true. It's probably because you're doing it the completely wrong way. And I want to help you fix that in this short video today. Rule number 1. Decode the decision maker. This is actually the most important rule. That's why I put it first. If you are not sending your emails to the right person, then you cannot get the replies that you want. So here's why this matters. One of the things that I've seen in working with, hundreds and hundreds of freelancers and sending, thousands of cold emails on my own, is that most people start this conversation with saying, well, I'm going to send cold emails. Well, what should my email say? But shockingly, this is not the most important thing, because the perfect message to the wrong person will always fall on deaf ears. And one of the things that I've seen people do is they'll be, coming up with a copywriting offer or sending a client a potential pitch, and they're either emailing someone so high up on the totem pole that they're like, what is copywriting? I have no idea what part of my business that even is. Or they're emailing like the social media coordinator who has no idea or no ability to actually hire a copywriter to help out with email funnels. So of course it falls on deaf ears, because it's the wrong person. They have no ability to make that decision. So you end up with things like this, where people send that message to them and it's like, who are you? I have no idea what you're talking about. And this ultimately results in you wasting a lot of time on the wrong prospects, because you're contacting people who can't hire you even if they wanted to. So the most important thing that you want to do with your cold emails and your pitches is you've got to decode the decision maker. You need to know who that specific person is within an organization who can actually make the call to say, hey, this person's idea is worth executing on, and I'm going to be the one who allocates budget to actually get it done. And if you send, even just take the bad messages you're sending to the right person, eventually you will get a response. Maybe not a favorable one, but you will at least get a response, because they will know the language you're talking about. So that's rule number 1, and it's actually one of the most important ones. Now let's talk about rule number 2. Your email must pass the 0 friction test. And by this, I mean you need to make it so easy, so simple, so frictionless and smooth that it's like a baby's bottom. And here's why this matters, because in cold email, friction equals death. Because one of the things you want to remember is that you're probably contacting very busy people. Chances are, if they have money to hire you for a service, or if they are someone who's high enough to be making decisions, they don't have time to be sifting through 15 different lines of text and huge chunks and paragraphs to get to the actual point of what you're saying, because friction is going to equal death with your cold emails. Ideally, the person that you're sending your cold email to should be able to read the entire message and respond with a simple yes or no in less than 1 minute. And so that's one of the reasons why you should never say something in a cold email. It's like, will you hire me? Because that's so complicated. Their person's gonna have to think about, like, for how much, when do you start, what are your references, who the heck are you again? That's never gonna pass the 60-second test. Something that could is, would you be open to me doing a free audit of your Klaviyo account? Yes or no? Super simple. They can read that whole message and decide whether or not that's interesting to them in less than 1 minute. That's how your cold email should come across. And I call this my ease of decision test. Remember, you're a stranger on the internet, but if you are asking for something huge, like a full-time job or something, a huge, like $60,000 payday, you are the equivalent of a prince telling you about some giant inheritance, because they're getting this message and it's coming across as kind of spammy, and you're asking for something so big. So you have to kind of remember that the 0 friction test means that you need to make your decision easy. It needs to be the smallest logical next step that's going to lead you to the ultimate thing. So maybe it's issuing someone free credits. Maybe it's doing a free audit of someone's account. Maybe it's getting on a 5-minute phone call. All of these things can be small decisions, but you can't be asking for these huge ones like, can I intern at your company? Can I be, your understudy? These are huge decisions, and they will never pass the 0 friction test. So fix that, and you will instantly be a better cold emailer. You don't want to be this guy. You don't want to be this. If you hire me, all your dreams will come true. It's unbelievable on the first message. So lower that friction, and your emails will actually get through and potentially get you a reply. Now let's talk about rule number 3. Deposit before you withdraw. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to cold emailing is like, did this person just come out of left field? They have no idea who I am. They don't even reference anything about me. They're just probably sending this email to 10,000 people on the internet. So let's talk about why this matters specifically. And one of the big things is that it proves that you are paying attention, because one of the big differentiators with cold email is that if you are getting a cold message from someone you've never heard of, you've got to overcome so many variables, right? You've got to prove that you are someone who's trustworthy. You've got to prove that your offer is good. You got to prove that you're even someone who's not just like a robot who's been programmed to do this. So I never choose to cold email someone with a one-off message. Instead, I prefer to get on people's radar months or weeks in advance of when I plan to ask them something. And typically I like to just, send them compliments, engage with them on Twitter, do kind of things that make me stand out. And they say, hey, I remember that Rob guy. I've seen him somewhere before. What is he talking about with this email? Where I then go in to make my ask. And remember, if you are someone who sends a genuine compliment to someone, this is like a vacuum for attention, because we cannot ignore if someone compliments us. It's like the hardest thing to do. Send a genuine compliment to someone about something you notice on their site or something they're doing in their marketing materials in general. People will be like, oh my gosh, I have to reply with a thank you. And so I'll retweet them or respond to a couple of their tweets. And it really, what you say or do doesn't matter. You just want to be making some deposits in this bank account before you withdraw. And that can lead to a big difference in the response that you get, because you're not like everyone else. You don't have to overcome so many things. They remember your name. Now, let's talk about rule number 4. Perfect your 2-sentence pitch. Now, one of the biggest cold email mistakes that I see is some people send you these long emails that's like multiple pages with like 16 different points of their life, and they tell you their whole life story, and it's overwhelming. I care about your life story. I don't think you're an uninteresting person, but if you send that much text to someone, it's very difficult to reply, and it really will drop your response. So you end up with people being like, oh my gosh, here comes a long email in my inbox. So you do not want to do that. You want to tighten up your 2-sentence pitch, because remember, the one big thing is these are busy people. Nobody wants to hear the long backstory. What they need is someone who immediately gets their attention, or your email is going to get trashed. So you do not want to write in big blocky paragraphs. You want this to be, remember, consumable within 1 minute or less. One of my best pitches of all time was something to the effect of this: hey name, was checking out your site and noticed a cool opportunity with your welcome series. Didn't want to overload you with a long email, so I put together a short video to show you exactly what I found that might double your email revenue. And I would link out to a Loom video that walked them through what I found. Simple, clear as day. You open this email, it's almost impossible not to read it, and you're probably a little intrigued to click my link to say, hey, you could potentially double your email revenue with this. You don't need 17 paragraphs to get to the point. It will drop your response rate dramatically, so fix this and you will instantly tighten up your pitches. Now, let's talk about rule number 5. This is one that I specifically have come up with because I find it to be, my little copywriting seasoning that I add to my cold emails, and I like to find one weirdly specific thing to mention in my emails. Here's an example of an actual cold email that I sent someone who I was kind of following him, getting on his radar, just noticing the kind of things that he tweeted about. And it was clear to me that this man loved UCLA basketball. He was tweeting about it constantly. He had lots of retweets that related to basketball. And one thing I noticed is when I actually made this pitch is that they won the game the night before. They actually came back in overtime, and I was like, well, this is going to be my perfect tie-in for this cold email. So I was like, hey Steve, how about that comeback win in OT last night for UCLA? Is it just me, or does it feel like we might have a championship run in the making? Brace yourself for this extremely cheesy transition, but when it comes to putting together a championship team for your e-com store, email is like the player you give the ball when you're down by 2 and have 2 seconds left on the clock, knowing they're going to heave the ball from half court and make it with a crisp swish. But most people leave email on the bench the whole game. Good news, I run an email marketing agency specializing in doing this kind of stuff for brands just like yours, and there's 9 essential flows and automations that I believe every brand should have turned on. From a quick scan of your site, you're missing at least 6 of those, and I suspect it could be more. Each of these flows could add an additional 10% of revenue to your emails. Do all of them, and I wouldn't be surprised if you doubled your email sales. If you'd like, I'd be happy to do a free audit of your Klaviyo account, show you what these 9 flows are, and help you down a path toward making email your star player of profitability this year. Would you be open to jumping on a quick call to discuss next steps this week? Go Bruins. So see how it comes together, that weirdly specific thing, and then I tied it back into email as a result. And this email got a response and actually turned into a very successful client for me, over $9,500 in business from just this one little email. So you definitely want to choose those weirdly specific things, because how could this email not be written for Steve? It felt so customized to him that he had to respond to me. Now let's talk about rule number 6. No carpet blasting your messages. Now, this is the way that I see most people approaching cold email. It's just kind of like, they're just clearly sending the same message to 10,000 people, as many people as they can fire it off to in a day. And this is a horrible approach to cold email. And let's talk about why. Because one of the things that you see is that if you are going to take your cold email and just send it to 1,000 people without really adjusting any of the messaging, you will be far better off just to run traffic to an offer page. You would be way better off because you're basically going to be wasting so much time. You're going to be compromising an entire domain's authority to just send the same message to 1,000 different people with one merge field, and it's not going to come across as authentic or genuine, and people are going to see straight through the messages that are clearly sent to everyone else. So you would be way better off in so many ways. You would get the results faster, you would actually probably do it for cheaper, and you would get better clients by not batch and blasting it out to 1,000 people, by driving traffic to it. So if that's your approach and if that's your plan, just drive traffic to it. Don't even try cold emailing people. You'd be better off with cold traffic. And another big thing is when you do this a lot, your emails are not even going to be seen. They're going to land straight into spam. Here's a screenshot of my inbox where people are clearly doing this. They bought my email from probably a list of agency owner leads, and then they just send me the same emails, batch and blasted 10,000 times over and over again. And all those emails just go right into my spam box because people are marking them as spam. Domain senders, Google, Yahoo, all of them know this is spam. You don't even have to second guess it. So you're not even going to get the results you're wanting, because you're going to go straight into the spam box. So just don't do this. Just do not batch blast your messages. It's way better to have a personalized message to the person you are targeting. So let's talk about rule number 7. No hard selling, but do occasionally try hard smiling. And why this rule is super important is because nobody likes to be hard sold to. Nobody likes to open an email and be like, man, this is an intense pitch. And yet this is the approach that most people take when they're sending their cold email, particularly in their follow-ups. They'll say something like, if you do not reply by 4 p.m. today, I will assume you're not interested and delete you from my database. It's like, okay, buddy, just back off. It's way too intense. This is the most aggressive way to say anything, and nobody likes to feel like that. It just kind of feels icky. That's how you become the used car salesman. And one thing that I found is, rather than being a hard salesperson, go for the smile instead. It really softens your ask because people kind of open your emails and they give themselves a light smile. So one things I do sometimes in my follow-up messages is include this little GIF right here where I say things like, hopefully, me sending you this follow-up message isn't making you take your computer and smash it with your keyboard like this. That's not my intention at all. I'm just, following up to make sure you got the first message or see if you had any additional questions. It really softens the ask because they see this, they smile a little bit. They're like, oh, that's funny. This guy has a sense of humor. He's not just going to try to hard sell me. He is a nice guy who actually potentially genuinely wants to help me, and he's got a little personality too. And it definitely helps you get a response because it proves you're not just trying to close someone to make some money. You are genuinely trying to help people when you go for the smile instead. So if you follow these 8 rules and if you send your emails this way, you will build those authentic relationships. You will finally get replies and you will be the kingmaker because you can take anyone's email address and turn it into a response that you want. Clients, sales, partnerships, and so much more can all start if you just actually send cold emails that follow these 8 rules over and over again. So hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to actually like it and subscribe to the channel. I put a ton of email marketing tips just like this out, and I think if you're a copywriter, you really don't want to be not subscribed to this YouTube channel.